Hi, this is Gail Purith, and I want to ask you a question. What do you think of when you think of ants? Well, I can tell you, I think of pesky little bugs that need to be stepped on. But did you know that God mentions ants in Proverbs in a positive way? And that's because if you study ants, you'll find that they're highly organized, they're hardworking, they work from sunup to sundown finding food. And so God uses them in a couple of places in Scripture to give us an example of things that human beings should also be doing. Proverbs 6 through 8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard." Now, if you're not familiar with sluggard, it just means a lazy person. Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. Proverbs 30:25 says, "Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer." You know, God hates laziness, and Proverbs is full of different advice and correction and condemnation of what they often call sluggards. In addition, Paul tells us in Thessalonians that the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. You know, it's easy for Christians to slip into the societal entitlement attitude, thinking that we deserve things we can't afford and feeling like a victim if we don't get exactly what we want. We need to remember some scriptures that are very key in our understanding of worldly wealth and also just things in general. Luke 12:25, Jesus says in this verse, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." How many of us consider our lives good according to the abundance of our possessions? We need to make sure we're not doing that as Christians. Another key verse is Matthew 6:19 through 21, where Jesus says, "Do not store up your treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also." So I just want you to pray today and ask God in regard to your work standards and in regard to your possessions, if you're storing up your treasures here on earth or in heaven. God bless.